Welcome back to the Wasteland once again. Today we're going to be taking a look at 3 very iconic weapons in Fallout 3, and just throughout Fallout's history. We're going to be taking a look at the Gauss Rifle, the Tribeam Laser, and the Tesla Cannon. All 3 of these DLC weapons, and all 3 of them being kind of unique weapons. Not necessarily one of a kind, although the Gauss Rifle and Tesla Cannon kind of are. Tribeam Laser you can find later on. So each of these are going to have their own separate pros and cons because they're all very different weapons, but let's just go over them starting with the Gauss Rifle. So the Gauss Rifle makes an appearance once again in Fallout. And it actually made its first appearance in Fallout 2, where it was a semi-automatic gun that held like 20 shots and was really good at everything. In Fallout 3 it's been toned down quite a bit, where it is now an experimental sniper rifle that the militaries were testing during the war in Anchorage. And that's where you get the Gauss Rifle, is from completing Operation Anchorage. You can get 2 Gauss Rifles inside of the simulation. You get the first one just in the very first area off of a dead guy, and then the second one you get from actually passing a speech check. You're going to need to do that if you want to get the unbreakable version of it, and you want to cheat that out. So the regular Gauss Rifle can only be obtained by actually completing the DLC. It is found in the bunker at the very end, and this is a very powerful weapon. So the Gauss Rifle for stats, this one does 100 damage per shot, which is really high. That is very high for a sniper rifle. This only has 31 damage per second though. The DPS is not very great with the Gauss Rifle because this is a single shot weapon. You do have to reload it after every single shot. This has a massive 5 times crit modifier on it though, so it is extremely likely to hit crits. This does 50 crit damage though, half of its regular damage, although that's still fairly high by Fallout 3 standards, so it's not that bad, and this could be doubled if you hit a sneak crit, so that's good. This one costs 38 action points to be using in VATS, about the same as the other sniper rifles, nothing way crazy there. It's decent if you need to use it at close range, then VATS is a pretty good idea, but otherwise I don't really use this one in VATS because most of the time I'm using it to snipe off enemies at a distance. This one has 0 spread, and the projectile that it shoots is actually pretty big, so it is fairly likely to hit enemies. Now there is something weird that I just learned not too long ago with the sniper rifle, with the 44, and with the Gauss Rifle. I think it's with any of the guns that have scopes in Fallout 3, is that they actually have bullet rise at a distance. So if you go to fire at an enemy and it looks like your bullet just completely missed them, it might have actually completely missed them because the bullet would go up and over the enemy. This isn't a dramatic like sweep that it takes, but it is a gradual climb for some odd reason. I don't know why that is. It might just have to do with the engine limitations or something of Fallout 3. But yeah, if you're missing shots of the Gauss Rifle or the Sniper Rifle or really anything with a scope, try aiming a little bit lower. I did test this out and it does seem to be the issue there, and I don't know why that is. This only holds 1 round in it, but the good news is that it uses microfusion cells, and microfusion cells are incredibly common, so this is probably the most ammo-efficient microfusion cell weapon in the game. This does weigh 12 weight. The Gauss Rifle is very heavy. It's heavier than the other sniper rifles, and this one has 375 shots before it breaks, which can be kind of an issue because this is a one-of-a-kind weapon. So the Gauss Rifle, you're not actually going to get any more of them. There is just the one at the end, unless you cheat the simulation one out. There's also a unique effect that the Gauss Rifle has, and that is that it has a knockdown on crit hit. So if you hit a crit and it doesn't kill the enemy, it will knock them down too, or at least has a high chance of knocking them down. This can be kind of useful, although I have had the same bug with this one as I've had with the Victory Rifle, where it seems to apply the knockdown before it applies the damage, and then the damage is significantly nerfed for some odd reason. Why that is with the Gauss Rifle and the Victory Rifle, I don't know. The last video when I was talking about the sniper rifles, other people had said that they had the same bug and they weren't entirely sure why it was that way either. I imagine it's just some sort of weird thing in their coding or something in Fallout 3 that has that happen. I really don't know. For the pros of the Gauss Rifle, really high damage, very long range, very ammo efficient too. Major cons though, it's one of a kind. If you need to fix this up, you're going to have to go to a trader to fix it up, or you're going to need to get the alien epoxy from Mothership Zeta, which there's not necessarily a limited amount of epoxy on the spaceship. There kind of is, but you can always get more of it. It will be showing up later. This is probably a good use of the alien epoxy just to keep your Gauss Rifle topped off. For an overall rating for the Gauss Rifle, I'd probably put this one up into S tier. It is a fantastic sniper. It does a lot of damage. It's really good at long range. Now there is the simulation version of the Gauss Rifle too, which you can cheat out of Anchorage. You're going to need to use the Gary glitch, or the body glitch, whatever you want to use. They're both actually the same glitch. Depends on how many bodies you want to stick in the pod with you. once you get into Operation Anchorage. Then when you leave, you just try to interact with them, and then you place the Gauss Rifle. You will need to pass the speech check in order to get the Gauss Rifle, so make sure you do that beforehand, otherwise you can't really cheat the Gauss Rifle out of Anchorage. And if you do that, then the simulation Gauss Rifle has all the same stats as the regular Gauss Rifle. However, this one is functionally unbreakable. It does slowly lose durability over time, but it's got so much item health that it's pretty much unnoticeable. It takes forever to break those type of weapons. And that one would obviously go up into S tier 2. That one's one of the best weapons because then you have a pristine Gauss Rifle that doesn't actually ever break. And it's super ammo efficient, so you can always carry it around with you. Let's move on to the Tribeam Laser next, which is in the Broken Steel DLC, and this one's not a one-of-a-kind weapon like the Gauss Rifle. This one you can actually find multiple of. These are carried by the Super Mutant Overlords, which are probably the strongest or one of the strongest enemies in Fallout 3. They are very tanky. These weapons do a lot of damage. They can do a lot of damage per second. They're very scary at close range. They can sometimes be pretty scary at long range too. The Tribeam Laser is random at long range. It's very consistent at close range, but at long range, sometimes it can still snipe you a ways away, and other times it can't hit you at all. So, totally depends on the RNG that you get. For stats, the Tribeam Laser does 75 damage. This is actually just 25 damage per laser. So if all 3 lasers hit, that's still a lot of damage, but it's not an insane amount of damage. Same thing kind of goes with some of its other stats. This one does 205 damage per second. You can shoot this very fast. It has a 1.5 times crit modifier, so it's very likely to hit crits, which is nice. This one only does 45 crit damage, which is really surprising for a shotgun style weapon, because this one doesn't really count as each beam being able to crit individually, like how the shotgun pellets do. This one is just, if you hit a crit, then you can hit a crit with all of the beams. And its damage actually isn't super high, which is good because this one's only 45. The regular combat shotgun that we've looked at before, just the regular one can do almost 250 damage on crit. So it's not that crazy. It's still gonna hurt if you get crit with it, but it's not as crazy as the other shotguns, making it a whole lot more fair. This one costs only 23 action points. The Tribeam Laser is surprisingly good in VATS, at least in terms of the action point cost. It can still be a little bit awkward at range because the lasers might split off. This one has 2 spread, so a decent amount of spread. I think that's 2 spread per laser, not necessarily 2 spread as the whole thing. I could be wrong though, because sometimes it seems like the Tribeam Laser is not very accurate and the lasers just go wherever and you just can't hit anything at longer ranges. At close range, it's not a big deal. But then other times when you're shooting at long range, it's just as accurate as a regular laser rifle. It's very weird. This one holds 24 rounds in it, just like a regular laser rifle. However, this does consume 3 ammo every time you shoot it, so you actually only get 8 shots. This weighs 9 weight. It's actually a bit hefty for a laser rifle. And this one has 333 shots before it breaks. Now that's 333 trigger pulls rather than just the amount of shots that you actually use, since this does consume 3 ammo every time. So the Tribeam Laser is okay on item health. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible either. Tribeam Lasers you can find kind of all over the wasteland once the Super Mutant Overlords start showing up, and they are a very reliable weapon. For the general pros of the Tribeam Laser, very high damage at close range, and sometimes pretty good damage at long range. Also a very common ammo, and you can fix this up. Those are all great things. Fixing them up is kind of standard for other weapons, but not so for the other weapons that we're talking about in this video. The major cons of the Tribeam Laser: it's not very good at long range, or at least it has the potential to not be very good at long range. It has the potential to be really good at long range too, so it's a bit of an awkward one. And this is pretty much just Super Mutant Overlord exclusive, so you're going to have to kill them in order to get this, and they are pretty tough. For an overall rating for the Tribeam Laser, I'm going to put this one also up into S tier. It is a very solid weapon. It's really good at doing just about everything. It's not as overpowered as something like the Metal Blaster. If you want a stronger version of this, just go to the pit and get the Metal Blaster. It's going to hit way harder than this. Then we move on to the Tesla Cannon, which this one isn't technically a one-of-a-kind item, so long as you're willing to bomb the Brotherhood. If you don't bomb the Brotherhood, then this is a one-of-a-kind item. So the Tesla Cannon you get at the very end of the Broken Steel DLC. And technically, you can actually get one at the last mission of Broken Steel. And then if you do choose to bomb the Brotherhood, you can actually get 2 additional ones, as well as Callahan's Magnum. You're just going to have to go to the Brotherhood place, dig it up. For the stats of the Tesla Cannon, this one does 40 damage on hit, and then it does an additional 80 explosion damage after that, and then it does an additional 20 electricity damage that ticks over 2 seconds on enemies. The explosion and the electricity can also trigger on you if you are close enough, so be careful with this weapon because it can hurt you. It's very similar to something like the missile launcher, but this does a lot of damage per shot. Damage per second's pretty low. This does 32 DPS. That's going to be better because of the electricity, so you are going to be getting a little bit more from this, assuming that you didn't already kill the enemy. And this can kind of splash to multiple enemies, so sometimes the DPS is better, but this is a single-shot weapon similar to the missile launcher. Does not have as big of an AoE as the missile launcher. This has a 2x crit modifier, so you're pretty likely to hit crits. This one does 30 crit damage. Why it's 30, I don't know. I guess because it's not 40, 80, or 20. It does more crit damage. It's cool that it can hit crits, though. This costs 37 action points to be using in VATS. This one's a little bit awkward to be using in VATS because you don't want to be using it too close, since it is like the missile launcher, you can hurt yourself, but at longer ranges it's actually pretty effective. This one has a big old 0 for spread. It is quite accurate, and the beam from this is fairly big, so it's actually pretty forgiving if you're not hitting directly on an enemy. This does have a magazine of only 1, although this does use the electronic charge packs, which it's basically just this and the Gatling laser that use that, and that's it. So you're probably going to have a ton of ammo for the Tesla cannon, which is pretty awesome, but you will need to reload it after every single shot. This one only weighs 8. Weirdly enough, the Tesla cannon is actually the most lightweight weapon out of these that we're talking about today, and this one actually has pretty good item health at 563 shots before it breaks. So you're not actually going to be breaking the Tesla cannon too quickly. Again, if you're not going to be bombing the Brotherhood, this is kind of a one-of-a-kind item, so you're going to either need traders to fix this up, or you're going to need alien epoxy to fix it up, similar to the Gauss Rifle. But if you do want to bomb the Brotherhood, then you can get 2 more of these, and they can last you quite a while. This is a really strong weapon that's really good at dealing with pretty much everything for the general pros of the Tesla cannon. Long range, high damage, great ammo efficiency. Major cons, potential damage to yourself if you're using it at close range, and slow rate of fire because you only get the 1 shot and then you have to reload it. It is really good though with that 1 shot because it can 1-shot a lot of enemies. It's pretty likely that you can kill Deathclaws with 1 or 2 shots. You can kill Yaoguais in like 1 shot. You can kill Vertibirds in 1 shot with this, which is kind of cool. It's a very fun weapon. I guess the other major con is that it's at the very end of the final DLC, so you can't really rush it. You could if you just want to rush the main story and then just rush Broken Steel and then just get this. That would be fine because then you still have all the other side quests and all the other DLCs to do. But that's usually not the way I play Fallout 3. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just usually I do the other DLCs and Broken Steel is at the end because it's after the main campaign. And then we're getting into like the post-game stuff after that. But if you want to rush it, go for it. Tesla cannon I'd also put up into S tier if I didn't already say that. It's a very good weapon. Tell me your thoughts on these very iconic Fallout 3 weapons. I'd love to hear them. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at all the knives.